Incredible ocean, magical place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. Incredible ocean, magical place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. Place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. Incredible ocean, magical place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea.
Hello!
Hello everyone, welcome.
So you guys might have guessed already by the title, but today's episode is all about sea turtles. Amazing, yeah. So I'm just going to see if I can unmute you, Russell. No, not yet. Well,
Not yet.
So I think you've been hearing a bit about sea turtles, haven't you? Oh, there we go.
Got there in the end.
Got there in the end.
Awesome. Well, we do have some news this week of turtles, which has been really interesting. So an island in the Maldives has just become a new protected nesting site. So this is a bit unique because, oh, bye, Russell. It's a bit unique because it's actually home to the resort Emerald Maldives Resort, but they have a live-in marine biologist called Georgia Maggioni. Yeah, and she works really closely with the resort and other conservation programs to ensure that species, including the turtle, remain protected and safe. And they spotted a turtle come on shore and lay eggs, and since have made that whole stretch of beach protected and successfully, very recently, I think in the last week, they have hatched, if I can get this up, and that's one of them. I know.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And yeah, so their partnership's really nice. They've worked really hard to sort of go plastic free, and all of their tours are sort of really eco-friendly, with sort of the wildlife and environment in mind. She does lots of talks on sort of endangered species and everything. So I thought that was some good news.
That is some wonderful news. Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that.
It's nice to have some good news, especially about turtles, because they're so endangered. And just down the road from where I am, which is in Wales, in the UK, for anyone that might be abroad watching, there was a turtle reported that had been washed up. Unfortunately, it wasn't alive. But I have spoken to the marine biologists that are sort of working with, I can't remember who it is that had reported it, but to find out why it was, because I thought that would be interesting to know. But it was a Kimp's Ridley, which I think you might know a bit more about them. But
yeah, so they're not from. Yeah, no, massively. So they're normally the Gulf of Mexico. Hello again, Russell. Welcome back. Yeah, they're normally the Gulf of Mexico, so they're they shouldn't be this way at all. That's pretty amazing. They're also our most endangered species of turtle, so they are really, really struggling. They're really heavily impacted by humans, and they're also the smallest. They're only 2 feet long, which is pretty. Yeah.
Well, I will keep you guys updated with that. I thought it would be really quite interesting to know sort of what it is that is impacting the turtles, especially around where we are on our coast.
Yeah, completely. Does anyone know what the weather's like in the ocean at the moment?
Oh, I don't know. Should we go to our weather reporter?
Yeah, let's see. I'll see if she can tell us. Wet. There you go. It's very wet there. Very, very wet.
It is indeed wet.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Wonderful. So
Cool,
is
right.
that it for the news?
That was the highlights that I had from the news. I was actually a little bit overwhelmed by turtle news and facts this week, I will have to be honest, just because there is so much that as soon as you start delving into the world of turtles, oh my goodness, like literally you have to, even when we were trying to put together our sort of little mini clip for my segment, I mean, it ended up just, yeah, there's just so much. And these guys, the turtles and so on are just incredible animals. So
Well, I think they're definitely super charismatic and slightly like quite alien, but it's also like most people don't expect to see an animal like that on the beach. Like whenever I remember being in Florida and just sitting on the beach, and then you're like, what? There's like turtle eggs just there. And you're like, this is, and you're like, this is weird. This is like a giant animal. Normally I'd have to like go somewhere really exotic or pay lots of money or be like really quiet, and they're just like, hi, here I am on the beach. And you're like, whoa, this is amazing. So I think it's maybe a combination of those things that mean people are super into them. I don't know.
So shall we learn more about them?
yes, and Annette, so last week,
oh yes,
as you were talking about hydrothermal vents, and we asked viewers and anyone to get in touch and to send us their photos of them recreating what you had done last week. And yes, and so we have had, if I can find it. Firstly, so this is from Caitlin up in Ullapool, Scotland. I know, how wonderful is that?
That is
so
really awesome.
So for anyone who missed last week's show, that's a Hoff crab that's found at deep sea hydrothermal vents, and that is a fantastic rendition of one.
She's clearly got the hairy Hoffness to it, I can see. Anyone tuning in now, it looks like that Hoff crab is the third presenter. We've got rid of Abi, and now we present with the Hoff crab model.
I've had a facelift.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That's amazing. Oh yes,
this was the actual vent itself. How awesome is that?
Oh, that's so good.
I know.
That's really cool.
I love this. Looks like she's used like the top of an egg box, like one of the pointy bits as well, which is great use of that.
Yeah. We've got the full clip of it, which we'll share on Facebook. But really, really cool work. So thanks a lot for that, Caitlin.
Wonderful. Yeah,
cool.
Thank you.
Right. So shall we do some conservation matters then?
Well,
Hi,
I think
Andy.
I was actually going to jump in with a little bit of my art stuff, you know.
Oh,
if you guys fancy. On the
that would be
subject of
even
art.
better. That would be even better. I'm getting ahead on my scheduling there. Let's do some art, and I'm going to shut up and go away.
Hello and welcome to Incredible Oceans Art. So today we're going to be learning all about sea turtles, and there are 7 different species of sea turtle that we have alive today. Blackback turtle, green turtle, hawksbeak turtle, loggerhead turtle, Kemsley turtle, olive ridley turtle, leatherback. Gosh, there we go. So for those of you that missed that is the flatback turtle who you find in the waters of Australia. This, the green sea turtle, who is one of the largest and also our only herbivore. Hawksbill sea turtle, who's critically endangered and sadly prized for their shells. The Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, who is our rarest and smallest. the loggerhead turtle, who's named for its exceptionally large head, the olive ridley sea turtle, who is the most abundant of all our species, and finally the leatherback, who we're looking at today. Now, these wonderful creatures may be small when they hatch, but they get big. These record breakers are the biggest sea turtles in the world, reaching 6 feet, and they are the fastest. They've been known to swim over 20 miles an hour in search of their prey, the jellyfish. And to help them catch their slippery prey, they have a mouthful of papillae, which hook them in. Now, this turtle might look like it's crying, but it's actually releasing salt. There's so much salt in jellyfish that these guys have salt glands twice the size of their brains. Now, let's make it. So start off by drawing out your leatherback. Now, I'm going to actually paint mine first this week and then cut it out. So you may have noticed that the shell of a leatherback is different to other sea turtles, and that's because they deep dive to over 1,000 meters, so they need to be able to collapse their lungs. Because on all sea turtles, their shell, the top, the carapace, is knitted to their ribs through bony plates, they need to have special adaptations to be able to do this. So instead of the keratin solid scutes that most sea turtles have, instead, over the top of their carapace, they have a thick layer of waxy, oily skin, lots of blubber, and instead of those big hard plates, they have little bones which all fit throughout the carapace to make it flexible. Wow. Now you can see that I'm using lots of greys and blacks and white, and that's because these turtles are dark colour so that they can retain heat more easily. They also have a thick layer of blubber. Now, once you've finished with your sea creature, it's time for your leatherback to go into your biome. Wonderful. Oh, fantastic.
Amazing. So pretty. And I loved your first intro to all the different species. Very nice.
They were really keen on being a part of the program, so
let them carry on. And I think we must all have a bit of an affiliation with leatherbacks, because I think they're one of my favorite. Not that I have favorites at all, but they also travel just a very long distance, don't they? They're the most well-traveled turtle, and they are incredibly. I also love them too.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad that you add them to your creative collection.
Yeah, well, people thought they were warm-blooded for ages because they're able to move so quickly, and they've got such a good high metabolism. They can keep themselves up to like 18 degrees Celsius above the seawater temperature.
Oh, really?
Which is really unusual for a reptile, and it means that they can go into like even colder water than other turtles. So it's really cool. They're really, really cool.
And can they also dive they can dive really deeply, can't they, for a very long time?
Over 1,000 meters down.
That's crazy. It's amazing. Yeah. And for up to like 5 hours, or like, I don't know, might be a different species, but
I don't remember it being 5 hours, but that would be impressive.
Yeah,
that would be impressive if it was. Yeah.
Incredible. But awesome. All right. Well, for Conservation Matters, we've also touched a little bit about the leatherbacks, just because they are so special. I will pop that on now.
Wonderful.
Yum!
Uh-oh.
This is the leatherback turtle. Growing up to 2 meters and weighing up to a ton, they're the largest species of turtle and heaviest reptile on the planet. As ancient as the dinosaurs, the leatherback sea turtle is something of a dinosaur itself. Leatherbacks have been recorded in all the seas, but despite being champion swimmers, their numbers in the Pacific have declined by a mind-blowing 90% in the last 20 years. They're currently listed as critically endangered. Every summer, leatherbacks migrate to our British coast. The rich sea attracts large numbers of jellyfish, and leatherbacks love jellyfish, which is why marine debris like discarded plastics is one of their biggest threats. Turtles mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, which when ingested blocks their digestive tract. Another threat in the ocean is bycatch and entanglement. These guys travel large distances, and so conservation of critical marine regions, including foraging grounds and migratory routes, is considered a priority in marine turtle conservation. Absolutely all sea turtles depend on beaches for nesting. Using their rear flippers to dig into the sand, leatherbacks lay around 100 eggs at a time. Whoa! So nesting habitat loss is another big threat to turtles. Other threats are climate change, egg collection, and illegal trade in turtle skin. Turtles need our help. We need to clean beaches and prevent more rubbish from entering the sea. Yes, reduce, reuse, recycle all plastic, glass and paper. By reducing our carbon footprint, we can help ease climate change. MPs are our voice for political and policy change. They love to hear your thoughts on important matters. Talking to your friends and family about turtles raises their profile and gets people talking about reasons they're endangered. Knowledge is power, and collective influence can force change. This is Arwen, a sea turtle ambassador for the Ullapool Sea Savers, who are a youth group from Scotland who promote, protect and save the sea. In her role as a Sea Saver ambassador, Arwen works with Brian Whittle, a member of Scottish Parliament and species champion for turtles, to develop strategies to protect and influence the health of sea turtles in Scotland. A big thumbs up to Ullapool Sea Savers from us. We're really excited to continue following your work. So to all the turtles of the world, from me, my lovely team at Incredible Oceans and the Ullapool Sea Savers, happy International Turtle Day!
Yes, so Ullapool Sea Savers are someone that sort of came on our radar from sort of last week, and I've just been blown away by the work that they do, but the fact that they work really closely with Scottish MPs, which I think is amazing. So that's how some big change can happen. And I would highly recommend checking them out. So I've put the link into the video description, and they do lots of really good work. So if any of them are watching, I would like to say thank you. Yeah, I'll probably talk a bit more about you sort of in a post or in a separate episode. But really good work.
Cool. No, really good. And I think that having an organisation that is tied in with politics, I know as much as we hate politics, but at the end of the day, it's going to be policies and making our politicians who represent us more aware about these issues, and that is where change is going to come from. So thumbs up. Good work. And to be fair, it's not a job that I'd like to do, liaise with politicians. So yeah, they're good work.
I might have
said
that politicians love to hear from us, So what I think would be great is to pop a letter together, and if anybody sort of wants to send that to their local MP, it's really easy to find out who your local MP is just by following a link. And you can let us know if you would like a copy of that template letter, and either by being a part of our mailing list, or I can just send it to you separately. But let me know if you'd like a copy of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, turtle conservation is a thing that you don't normally associate with the United Kingdom. So it is interesting. So my favourite turtle fact about the UK is that the largest turtle ever recorded was actually found on a beach in North Wales. And everyone's like, what? I thought and like it weighed almost a ton. But the thing that ended up killing it, and this is why they happened to found it, is it got caught up in fishing gear, and so it was dead when they found it on the beach. So making sure that we have policies in place to make sure that we reduce the amount of discarded fishing gear or ghost gear in our waters is really important.
Really, really important. And I think that happened a while ago, didn't it? It was like 1988, maybe like 1990.
Yeah, 88,
so, yeah. So it shows that actually if it was an issue then, it's something that we have to be even more conscious of now and fighting for now, especially as consumption of fish and everything is sort of even more so than it was then. Yeah,
definitely. So I've got a whole load more turtle facts which I'd like to share with people. So this is me nerding out. I'm hasten to add that I don't really know that much about turtles because I'm more of a plankton nerd. And before being a plankton nerd, I was a physicist. So I was like, oh, I wonder what I could do about the physics of turtles. So this is my nerdy overlap of turtle physics. So I hope you enjoy this. Sea turtles have been on Earth for 150 million years, so it stands to reason they would have evolved some amazing adaptations to help them survive this long. One such adaptation is the ability to navigate across the globe and make it back to the exact same coastline they were born on. So just how do they do this? So scientists have discovered that turtles, as well as whales, lobsters, sharks, salmon, and even humans, all possess the ability to detect electromagnetic fields. You see, the Earth itself is a magnet. The Earth's core is a giant ball of iron spinning so rapidly that it produces a magnetic field. But despite being 100 times weaker than the magnets on your fridge, this field is still strong enough to cause the aurora and to leave a magnetic signature in rocks. One such rock is the mineral magnetite, so called because it is the strongest naturally occurring magnet on Earth. And it turns out that turtles, as well as humans, possess concentrations of magnetite within their skulls that help us detect the Earth's magnetic field. As the turtle embryo grows inside its egg, the magnetic field from the beach that it's on is imprinted into the magnetite in its skull, ensuring that every turtle has a permanent reminder of just how to get home. Researchers at the Lohmann Lab at the University of North Carolina placed loggerhead turtle hatchlings in little harnesses and exposed them to magnetic fields, simulating different locations around the Atlantic basin. As soon as they switched the magnetic field, the hatchlings instantly started swimming in the opposite direction. GPS tracking has enabled scientists to monitor turtle populations across the Atlantic. Turtles catch the Gulf Stream current from their nesting grounds in the west, across to feeding and breeding grounds in the east. One such loggerhead was tagged and released in North Carolina. It was expected that he would follow the Gulf Stream across to Spain, but despite having spent a decade in captivity, he knew exactly where he needed to be. Satellites tracked him spend a year swimming 11,000 kilometers against the current to reach his mating grounds in the Cape Verde Islands. Recent research has also found a group of proteins called cryptochromes in the eyes of robins and sea turtles. This protein reacts to magnetic fields, allowing the turtles to actually see the Earth's magnetic field. So the next time you're lost, Why not try putting that phone away and see if you can be more turtle and hone into your own magnetoreceptive abilities?
That was absolutely fascinating, Russell. I loved it. Was it cryptochromes? That's amazing. I actually hadn't heard about those. Yeah, wow. Because I knew about a lot of the like electromagnetic reception that goes on in different life, and that humans can have it, but I didn't realize that some species could actually see it. So that's just, yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And it's really early research to do that. But the amount of species they found that have got this magnetic receptiveness, I mean, they've even got it in bacteria. So they've gone to North Pole, South Pole, looked at like sewage farms, puddles, all this, and certain species of bacteria line up with it. Sea slugs have it, like all kinds of crazy animals. And I just thought it was amazing that humans had it. So there was this guy back in the early 80s based at Manchester University, and he did for like 10 years, he would take students, blindfold them, and drive them along wiggly country roads to the middle of nowhere, then up to the top of a hill, and then he'd be like, right, point to the university. And like most of them, like a statistically significant proportion of them, were able to point to the direction of Manchester within 90 degrees, within that same segment of that. And so then they tried to repeat the experiment over in the States, and it failed. There was no statistically significant part of that. And then they since found out it was because of AM radio, and that because in the 1980s in Northern England, there wasn't that much AM radio as there was more in the States. And so it was AM radio is actually interfering with humans' ability to be able to judge direction. So this is a thing that we have inside us. We're bombarded with all these signals and things all the time. It's difficult to kind of, tap into that. But there's some great research happening at Caltech that's shown that, we are susceptible to it.
Gosh, that's fascinating. I wonder then if that's affecting things like bird migration. It must be, if it affects our senses like that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is that the Earth's magnetic poles are due to flip very soon, and they flipped a lot of times throughout Earth's history, and so the magnetic pole is actually wandering. So a lot of people think the magnetic pole is where the geographical North Pole is. And they're not. The geographical North Pole is obviously smack on top of the Earth, whereas the magnetic North drifts, and it shifts every year. So the Hydrographic Office in the UK sends out like a compass correction to allow ships and things to adjust for that.
Oh, wow.
There we go. I even managed to make turtles nerdy.
On that note, I know we were talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There is a comment. Yeah, my favourite's actually Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. Ooh. I thought he was a bit too much of like, whoa, dude, cowabunga. Raphael, he was just too moody. He's like a moody teenager. Leonardo was just a nerd. He was like, come on, like, you've got a massive splinter. You've got to be honourable. So my favourite was definitely Donatello as well, because he was like, look, I'm just a guy, use my brain, and I apply it in an interesting way. But I can also kick butt with this ninja staff, which I believe is called a bow. There we
fantastic. Go. I loved the voices. 10 out of 10.
Thanks. So I've got a nerd. I was going to say I can get super nerdy now. So I've got a nerdy experiment for everyone to do at home. So I thought you might be interested in this Nerd Fest. Right, here we go. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a go at making our own compass. Like, I know we have one in our heads anyway, but this is a really, really, really cool and simple experiment that you can do. And for this, what you need is a cork or something that floats. There is a cork. It was hard work. I had to get through the bottle to get the cork, but I managed it in the end. So I got a cork. You need a needle. So people at home who aren't very good with sharp, pointy things, you might want to get an adult to help. You also need a magnet. an actual magnet, and you need a sharp knife. So double adult help there. Okay. So step one.
Before I'm gonna leave you to it, Russell.
Okay,
you and your giant knife.
Okay, you go away, and I'm just going to show kids how to play with knives and sharp, pointy things. There we go. Right. So step one is you need to magnetize your needle. So the needle at the moment is made of iron or steel, and what we need to do is we need to magnetize that. And you can magnetize any kind of iron or ferrous metals by getting a magnet and running the magnet along it in the same direction like this. It has to be in the same direction the whole time. And so if you'd like some A-level physics there, the reason why is inside that needle we've got things called domains. So when the needle was made, so from liquid metal, and they poured it into a little mold, then it was kind of frozen, and all these little domains are all jiggled around all over the place, all the way along the needle. And then as you run the magnet along it, what it does is it takes those jumbled up domains and it turns them all gradually into the same direction. And every time you stroke it, it turns those domains and forces them around so they all face the same way. And that's basically how a magnet works. All the domains point in the same direction. So you keep running it, and you can do this to anything that is made from a magnetic metal. You can magnetize it by running a magnet across it. And this is how magnet companies make new magnets as well. This is what they used to do in the Victorian times. They had like one supernatural magnet, probably made of magnetite, and then they would just run metal bits along it so I've got a magnetized pin now. Okay, so great, my pin is magnetic. So next step, what we need to do is get your cork, you need to get your knife, and what we're looking to do is to just cut very carefully a disc of cork off of the end of the full cork. There we go. So now I have a little disc of cork. Okay, there we go. So now what you need to do, oh dear, is get your magnetized needle, and then you want to poke it through the middle of the cork like that. Okay, so now what you've got, that unbelievably is now pretty much a compass. You've got a needle poked through a cork. Now I'm going to do proper Blue Peter style, and here's one that I made earlier, because it takes a little while to kind of magnetize that needle. So I had a fun lunchtime today where I magnetized the needle. And what you need to do is get your compass. You need to put it in a bowl of water because it needs to be able to move on a pretty much frictionlessly. You see, I let it go, and then instantly it lines up with the direction of north-south. So I can tell you that way is the magnetic north, and this way is south. And if you're like, nah, that hasn't worked, if I twist it again and leave it, you'll see that it always goes back into the same orientation, which is pretty cool. So I've made my own magnet. So if you were lost in the woods and all you had was a cork, a needle, a magnet, a bowl of water, and a knife, you could totally make your own compass. There we go. Bam. I'm just going to walk around town now going, oh, look, oh, that way's north. Oh, but there we go. Right, so let's do some Q&A now. There we go. I've made a compass. What have you done today? I've made a compass. I've made two, in fact. There we go. Awesome. Right, let's do some Q&A.
That was wonderful, Russell.
I really like it. I'll be honest. I was surprised it worked. I was like, because this is lockdown. And I was like, well, I can't go online and buy some super expensive magnet to make sure I do it. So I just had to be like, what fridge magnets have I got? So this is just like this. I don't even know who this is. This came with the house that I live in, stuck to the fridge. And it's just a little thing from Mallorca full of sand. And I was like, Excellent. Is that going to be strong enough? But yeah, just that wimpy magnet on there was enough to magnetize the needle and for it to pick up the Earth's magnetic field. I should hasten to add, that you should, for your compass to work, you need to be away from metal things, because that'll kind of cause, it'll obviously, because it's a magnet now, the compass will go towards the metal things. So you need to make sure that, yeah, when you're holding it, you're not next to a giant tin shed or anvil or something like that.
Amazing.
Good to know. Good to know. Right, are we ready for a bit of Q&A?
Yes.
Let's
yes.
Q&A
yes.
it.
Yes. Okay, so we have a question here, which is, what is underneath a turtle's shell? Are they hollow? And if they break, can they be repaired? Repaired, not prepared. Repaired.
Ooh. So we were actually talking about this in the week, weren't we?
We were, yeah.
Go for it.
So,
Go for it, Annette.
okay.
You're the queen of turtles.
So as a turtle develops, basically its ribs are fused to its shell. So plates of bone form in between each rib, and it fuses together to form kind of one kind of bony expanse, really. And the lungs are directly underneath the shell. So the very top of the carapace, it's lungs, and on top they have called scooters. Is it scoots? They've got it's like a form of keratin. A lot of them on the top of the shell as well. You know, when you've got like beautiful patterns that you see on like a green turtle or a hawksbill turtle, that's the bony keratin like layers on top. And then you've got the like bony layers, and then you've got the lungs, and then you've got all the other organs. So their lungs are kind of on their back rather than their front chest like us. So it's absolutely not empty. It's full of organs.
It's basically their rib cage.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. So definitely not hollow. There we go. So I believe we had another question about, can you tell the age of a turtle from its shell, a bit like tree rings? Like, can you count the tree rings? So this one came through on Instagram by I think CD Wardle, which is a great name. There we go. So yes, that's a good question. Could you guys know this?
It's not something that I'm hugely familiar with, actually. I imagine maybe if it's similar to something like...
I kind of know this. I kind of know this one because I had pet terrapins when I was a kid. So my next door neighbor, he was like 5 years older than me, and I was like 8 and he was like 13. I was like, oh my god, you're so cool, you're 13. And he was like, he bought some terrapins like a lot of people did my age when the Ninja Turtles came out, and then got bored with them within a week. And I was like, these are amazing. And they shed their shells, and then a new one comes through. And so it depends on the the segments of shells kind of flake off. And so when I was cleaning them out, you'd be like, oh, look, they're growing again. And you'd find all these chunks of shell and things like floating around inside their tank. But so it's not as easy as like a tree, which has a very pronounced growth period where it's like, I grow in summertime, I don't grow at wintertime. So it's every year. So turtles grow whenever they get a growth period. So if there's a lot of food around, then they'll do that, or if something stunts their growth. So they can have more than one growth spurt in a year. So effectively, depending on the species, some of them are every year, and other species, it's actually they have 2 growth spurts a year. So you have to count the number of rings on the shells and then divide it by half. So yeah, it changes.
That's fascinating. There you go.
Very, very fascinating. And we have a question from Sarah Nichols' daughter. Would like to ask, what turtles eat?
They really like cheese sandwiches, Sylvie. They really like cheese sandwiches. They don't eat cheese sandwiches. That's a lie, because they can't make them with their flippers. They just can't hold the butter knives.
The commonly
we
found
know
butter
that
knife.
they absolutely love jellyfish. So we know that much. But is there...
Yeah, so it depends completely on the species.
Yeah.
So some eat jellyfish, and those are the ones that have those mad kind of backward-facing outgrowths down their throat to help hook them because they're so slippery. But then
what were they called? They had a great name.
Papillae.
Papillae. My firstborn daughter will be called Papillae.
You can show her a picture of a turtle's throat and be like, it's for you. So some of them, there's some of them only eat. The green turtle is the only one that's a herbivore. Otherwise they eat soft things because they have got beaks. Like, it's kind of limited. If you've ever seen a tortoise eat on land, you'd know they kind of are limited to softer things with the kind of the beaks that they've got. So
cool.
Awesome.
So I have an interesting fact about the papillae. So for those people who are Stranger Things fans out there, the Demogorgon's mouth was actually based on the mouth or the throat of a turtle. Because for those who haven't seen it, it's like a monster that has a mouth that's 5 parts, and it opens up like, and it's all full of like spiky teeth all the way along its mouth bits. So it's pretty amazing. It's a cool monster, and it's based on turtles. Look at that.
that's really cool.
Very, very cool.
There we go. So we got time for a few more. I really like this idea that people think turtles are hollow. Like they're just like you'd knock on them. Hello, and it would just go bomb, 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 bomb.
But their shells are so fascinating. And there was a report a couple of weeks ago that I was reading, which was about the sale of turtle jelly, which you can actually find in even now, big airports. And it's sort of quite unassuming, but it will just say like turtle jelly on it. But actually what is in the ingredients is crushed up turtle shell, because there are certain beliefs that they have, whether it's medicinal value to it or it's just some kind of novelty gift. But yeah, that's still a thing. So if you do see that at the airport, I would probably suggest not buying it, because I don't know what they assume that you do with it, whether you're meant to put it on your toast or what.
Oh no.
But there's just so much
turtle jelly toast. Don't eat that, kids. That's not fun.
No.
But we're kind of finding out a lot about turtles. They have been around, haven't they? And their evolutionary story is just incredible. And so we're trying to catch up and find out so much about them, that I think it's a valid question to ask what's going on underneath that shell, because we're all still learning. And,
well, it's interesting you talk about evolution, because there's been a couple of questions here about how they're related.
I just want to bring up the first one.
So do you want to do that one?
I can happily. So do you want to cover the evolution bit, or shall I do that as well?
Well, I'll do what I know, which is roughly that there would have been a common ancestor of tortoises, turtles, and terrapins. So Americans also call terrapins turtles, which gets really confusing. To them, everything's a turtle, which is why I think we are in the kind of strange situation now that we have World Turtle Day, which is tortoises, terrapins, and turtles, and then we have a separate World Sea Turtle Day. So that's Americans for you. Thanks ever so much. It's not all a turtle. You've got tortoises, you got terrapins, and you got turtles. Okay, so what we call sea turtles, they tend to have big flippers, and they have evolved to swim in the sea. That's why. So their skeleton, if you like, is they've basically got like a giant webbed foot, right? Then the halfway point, which is the terrapin, which is like semi-aquatic. So they live in swamps. So sometimes they're on land, sometimes they're on in the water. They're called sliders down in Alabama, because they slide into the water, which is great. And and they have separate toes, but they're webbed. And then obviously at the other end of the spectrum, we've got tortoises, which tend to live entirely in desert regions. And so they've evolved to live on land. So each of that kind of group lives in a separate ecological niche, if you like. They've managed to make a living in that and go for it. And they've obviously been very successful because they've been around for 150 million years. So go turtles, go turtles. That's turtle power.
That is turtle power. So the only thing I would add in terms of evolution is that they did start from a land-based ancestor that then became aquatic. And yeah.
But before that, they would have started from a sea-based one.
Yeah.
It would have ultimately,
They went back in the sea. Oh, it's crazy, this evolution stuff.
Cool.
Should we have a look at
So I will touch on the other question in there, which is that they don't have, the one species that dives that deep is a leatherback, and they don't have a shell that's the same as all of the other sea turtles. So they don't have the keratin top layer. Instead they just have thick skin, and the way that their bony plates are it's just a lot of small bones that support it while being flexible. So they do have a carapace, but they don't have the keratin like outside that you see on other sea turtles.
Awesome.
Cool. So while I was randomly going through a box of stuff that I found this awesome book, right? And I really love it. It's called The Ocean Is My Home. And it's about a sea turtle with a tracker on his back and all the information that he gives scientists. Now, it's made by the European Global Ocean Observing System, or EuroGOOS, right? But the cool thing about this book is it's available for free on the EuroGOOS website as a PDF.
Ooh.
So you can download it, not only in English, but also in Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. So I totally recommend just Google or use any search engine, check out EuroGOOS, and then just go to their publication section and you can download this great book. And what I like about it is not only is the artwork brilliant, but it's also factually correct. And it's not often, normally it's all like, Sammy the turtle is friends with Billy the turtle, and it's all really lame. This is actually a good book, and it's quite good fun. So I totally recommend this. And it's free. It's like a free book.
Why don't we pop a link to it as well in the video description?
Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I think that might be all we have time for today, guys.
So we've got some announcements. We've got lots of announcements. I've got my pencil out to make sure that the announcements happen. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to try. I've got my list, and I'm going to tick them off as I go. Announcement number 1 is we'd like you to make a donation if you can, because we just do this for fun and we're just hanging out. And normally we'd be going to schools and festivals and doing lots of fun educational workshops and this, but we can't. So we're stuck in our rooms. And so we're still trying to get the ocean out there to as many people that will listen. And so all of your donation, we are a non-profit company, and all of your charitable donation will go straight back into making more of these programs and trying to get this out in front of as many people as possible, which is pretty cool. Next, we really love it. We absolutely love it when people at home make stuff that we do, either our science experiments or the art things, or they've just done something really cool, like gone for a walk on the beach. We love seeing photos from people who are watching us. So send in photos, videos, comments, questions, and we use that to help kind of plan our next, our next show. So totally be involved. We want this to be your show as much as ours. Okay.
Yeah.
Well said.
Cool. What else? I'd like to say that Annette, because I know you're like, oh, this only happens once a week. Annette does Sea Creature feature on Thursdays. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I will be back tomorrow. So I do a twice weekly show on Isolation Station on Facebook, where I do a small segment talking about my favourite sea creatures. And yeah, tune in tomorrow, because it's always a mystery guest tomorrow at 1 p.m. And I'll tell you all about my latest latest creature.
Isolation. Cool. Okay, I like that. So what else? So for those, I don't know which platform people are watching this on, but we stream it through our own website, we stream it through Facebook, we stream it on YouTube. And what is really great, if people could go to our YouTube channel, just have to type in Incredible Oceans. We're the first thing that comes up. And if you could subscribe, that would be brilliant. What we do is we put our little segments in there. We're putting together playlists, so you can look at art playlists, you can look at science playlists. You can watch whole past episodes on there if you want to stream those. So go to our YouTube channel, subscribe. And then what you need to do is tell all your friends. You need to be like, oh my God, there's this weird ocean program that happens. And it's just really weird and slightly haphazard. But they kind of know what they're talking about sometimes. And they really like the ocean. So totally tell all your friends and subscribe and pass the link on to as many people as you possibly can. Because we want as many people as possible to know about the ocean and appreciate the ocean. Because that's how we're going to sort it out and protect it.
Yeah.
People protect what they love.
Definitely. I've got 2 more things. So that awesome turtle gif. Can you put the turtle gif back up?
I absolutely can. Here we go.
Bye, Abby. You're being replaced by a turtle gif. There we go.
I think I prefer it.
Yeah. So this turtle gif was done by an awesome Bristol-based illustrator called Scott Masson. That's Masson. We'll put a link to him as well. And me and him had a chat today because I was like, oh, Scott, thank you so much for doing this awesome gift for us. And he's got loads and loads of ocean prints on his website, which is SLM Illustration. And I believe he's going to be doing some kind of incredible World Ocean Day discount. So totally check out his amazing artwork on his website. And then finally, next week, what's going to be happening next week, Annette?
We
haven't
doing
got Abby.
Something.
She's been replaced by a turtle.
Jesus.
I'm back.
We've got a very special episode for you, haven't we?
I think it's going to be utterly amazing.
You got it.
Because
we're doing an episode about sea otters.
Yeah.
Sea otters, exactly. So this is the great thing, because all these some really strange people have decided, you know what? Next week, today was World Turtle Day. Next week, that's going to be World Otter Day. So we're gonna do a thing all about otters. And again, I'll be honest, I hate cute fluffy things. I hate them. I'm not interested in them. I'm like, oh, they're boring. Someone's like, oh, it's so cute. I'm like, go away, cute fluffy thing. I like the weird, gross, like strange animals. So as soon as I hear like World Otter Day, I'm like, oh God, do I have to talk about cute fluffy things? So I'm going to try and talk about otters in a way where I don't really have to talk about otters.
Us two to make up for it. I feel like we cover all extremes.
We love that. We love everything, you know. We don't discriminate on cuteness.
It's
and
true,
otters used to be my favorite animal, so I'll
that's what
fill in that love gap.
Otters, otters, so cute, boring. Give me some deep sea thing that eats dead things. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think on that note, before you offend all otters.
All otters. We also have had a comment from someone trying to buy the book. We've not put it into the video description yet. It will be put in there once we get off air. So thank you very much for your keenness, Claire. That's really appreciated.
You don't have to buy it. It's free. You don't have to buy the book. It's totally free. Search for that. Search for Eurogoose. Just type that in.
We'll make sure that the link goes into the video description.
And just go to their publication section. There's a lot of boring reports on there about satellites, but then the thing that stands out is not many scientific reports have cartoon turtles on them. So that should help you differentiate it from the boring scientific reports on their website.
Oh, okay.
Right, let's go.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we will see you next week. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. Thanks so much.
Enjoy the sunshine, everyone.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Incredible ocean, magical place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea. Incredible ocean, magical place to be. So much that we can learn from life in the deep blue sea.